Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. My name is Leslie. If you haven't been here before, you've wandered across my little corner of the internet. Today, we are going to discuss just a few quick, simple tips for stamping. Stamping is awesome to add elements to any card, scrapbook page, whatever you may do it. I have used stamping to stamp music onto a sheet as a background. I have used stamping to create designs on uh, door hangers, things like that. So, stamping is very versatile and a very basic item that most crafters appear to use. But when you start out, it can be a little frustrating. So, I'm going to give you a couple of tips from somebody who has stamped for years. Number one, yes, you go to the dollar store and there's a great array of stamps and they look awesome and they look beautiful and they are exactly what you want until you get them home. I mean, they'll stamp, they'll work, but they can be frustrating. They aren't the best quality. And I have to say, I have learned that when it comes to stamping, you get what you pay for with your stamps. So, my suggestion is that you go ahead and buy a couple of good basic sets of stamps from wherever you want to get it. This set is from Spellbinders and it's got cute little sayings in it. So, I would buy this one as maybe my first one because it covers birthdays and it covers happiness and hope this gift makes your day soar and may your year ahead be filled with grand adventures and so on and so forth. So it's versatile. And then I would grab a set of maybe some lovely flowers or whatever it is that you are into that you think you will use a lot of. And that's what I would start off with. Two good sets of stamps. And then my next piece and very basic piece of advice is to remember that paper is an important choice. You may want to use just a plain white piece of paper, just a plain piece of cardstock. And that is fine too. That is totally up to you, of course, right? Or you may want to use something that will give you a bit of a background. Okay, so here we have our plane and our background. Now I'm going to tell you now these are smooth papers. You may want to stamp on glitter. You may want to stamp on a textured surface. And I don't mean one that looks like it has texture. This one actually does. The little stars are raised. So there's texture to this paper. My advice to you when you are starting out is start out with smooth and work your way to this. Because stamping on textured paper is just a little bit different than stamping on smooth paper because it uh, does not, the stamp doesn't rest on it the same, so you could get a broken up image. So just keep that in mind. So now you've got your stamp set. How do you stamp? Well, you can get yourself an acrylic block. You could get yourself a piece of anything plastic that is a smooth surface, is clean, and your stamp will adhere to. And then you can just go ahead and start stamping. Now, for today's example, I am using a drop, a what do they call it? Dewdrop pad. So this leads to my next suggestion or tip. When using any ink pad, whether it be a small one like this, a large one, whatever it is, you tap. You do not rub. You do not want to ruin the surface of your ink pad, and you do not want excess ink on your stamp that then gets on your project. Okay, so now you've got your ink on there, you turn, you stamp your project, you lift straight up, and oh dear, you've stamped your project, but you're missing some of the S. So now here is where my frustrations used to come in. Because now, being the dedicated crafter stamper I am, I would try and realign it. I would sit with my head over it, watching, watching, watching. It looks all aligned. I give it another stamp. And guess what? I bumped it with my stamp when I was trying to realign. And now I have a misalignment on my stamp. So what I'm going to do is I am going to find a way to align it. And that is where this comes in. Oh, guys, you know what I forgot to tell you? Oh, see, I got ahead of myself. When using a new stamp set, no matter where you get it from, I've used this one before, that's why it slipped my mind. But when you're using a new stamp set, you want to stamp on scratch paper a few times to help get it broken in. To kind of get it all greased up and ready to go, right? Okay, so now our stamp is ready to go. And we want to make sure that it is on our card exactly where we want it. So we use the stamp alignment tool. This one is the Stamp Perfect. I grabbed it from Walmart. It's not expensive. And I have inserted a sticky mat in it to hold my paper. Some of the ones you've seen on the internet, on YouTube, and so forth, maybe the Misty, those kinds of ones. This one was $10 and does the exact same thing. So now I can lay my stamp exactly where I want it, close my lid, and I have this little tool. It came in a bundle of crafting stuff that I got, and I just use it for pressure. Now, see, when I did that, I left a little ink there. That's okay. You know why? I can now show you why I love my stamping platform. Because I can now safely go ahead and restamp knowing that it is aligned to stamp in the exact spot that I want it. You could stamp 3, 4, 5 times. If you wanted to, you could now remove this stamp and you could go ahead. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Let me think here for a minute. And line it up right below, right? Just like that. Close it up. Once again, we're going to load our stamp pad onto our stamp. If you get a little on the plastic, just go ahead, wash it off, close it, rub. If you still have good hands, not full of arthritis, you could go ahead and rub it with just your fingers, and look at that. You could fill this whole thing with hugs and have a background if you wanted to. That is why I love having a stamping platform. But there are other alternatives. Just let me put my plastic back on here. When I first started out, there were no stamping platforms. However, there were stamps like this. And how in the world did I align them? Well, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. It was not fun at first, but I discovered stamp alignment tools sold by the companies that generally sell these wooden stamps. This is a Stampin' Up one. It's one of my favorites. I love this background stamp. But being wood, you can't see through it. I no longer have my stamp alignment tool that came from Stamping Up. It was lost in a move, but it was shaped like an L, and you simply laid it where, or this is the way I did it. I don't know if it was the proper way. I was never trained. It was given to me. It simply laid on my paper, and I put removable tape at each end, and I stamped. I stamped with my stamp right against the corner of it. So if this was the owl would be placed where I want my stamp to line up, and I would go ahead and I would stamp. However, it was very difficult to then get that alignment again if I wanted to move the stamp over and do a running line of stamps, right? So that was part of my frustration. And then I discovered this, and this came from Amazon. And I bought it for a totally different reason. I bought it to line up my backgrounds on my cards. It is a laser. And I do really like my laser pointer. But it also allowed me to line these wooden stamps up to stamp because I would align the side of the stamp with the laser and stamp onto my cardstock. If I wanted it lined up from the side, I could turn it to the side, the top, wherever. Okay, so you could use one of these too. But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I get the best results with a good old stamping pad. It gives me the best results each and every time. I love my stamp platform. So, what else should we discuss? We can discuss cutting it out. If you do not have a um, die to cut this out, you're just going to take your time. And trust me, fussy cutting is nobody's favorite part of stamping, or not most people's. I shouldn't say nobody's, but it can be done. You just want to cut out a shadow background. Okay, just like so. And I want these two to be contained in one. So that is what I am doing. And of course, you can always fine tune when you're done, but a simple cut around just like so, and you suddenly have a background. Now, I didn't do my best work there, but if you really wanted to fussy cut, you could follow the contours of the letters. So it is possible to do it without buying dies. Make sure that when you're buying your inks, you buy decent inks. That is another thing. I can take my finger now and I can rub, and the ink will not smudge. However, I have bought inks from the dollar store, and I've gone the next day to finish completing my card, and the ink is still sitting on top and smudges. So make sure that when you start out, you invest in a good set of stamps, phrases, and maybe shapes or whatever it is you want, flowers, whatever, that you invest in a good set of ink. And, you know, the the saying is you get what you pay for, and with stamping, it is definitely that. So I feel like I kind of fluttered all over the place, so I'm going to break it down for you. Number one, when you start, please use smooth paper, whether it's a white or if it has a colored background to it, like this one. You could have stamped your hugs right on there. Um, and then graduate to things like a textured paper, and then graduate to things like your glitter paper. Glitter paper can be very tricky to stamp on. Don't start there. You will be frustrated. Remember that you are not taking your stamp pad and your stamp and just rubbing and just like digging it in there. You're tap, tap, tapping. Okay. If it's a huge stamp pad like this one, tap your stamp onto the pad itself. If it's a small one, you can tap the pad onto the stamp. So we've covered the paper, we've covered that. Alignment tools, I strongly, strongly suggest that if you think you're going to be doing a lot of stamping, grab yourself a stamping platform, make yourself one. There are so many how to videos on how to make one. Um, it doesn't have to be an expensive one. Like I said, $10 at Walmart will get you a nice stamping platform. And then, what else can we talk about? I think that's about it. I wanted to cover the basics, and I think I have. Just remember, don't let the frustration beat you. Everybody makes it look so easy, but they have invested the time, they have invested a little money. It doesn't have to be a great deal. They've invested a little money and they're using the proper tools and inks and stamps, and they're getting the results they want. And that is what I want for you. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I hope that you get to do whatever you enjoy. Take care, and I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye.